Welcome to Dollars and Cents, Creating Your Fulfilled Life with Nicole Romito from Private Vista. In this podcast, we draw from years of experience as well as guest specialists to help you create the life you imagine. Join us in this journey as we enlighten and empower you to align your lifestyle to help you achieve your goals with a clear picture of your future. Now, let's get to the show.
Hello and welcome to Dollars and Cents with your host, Nicole Romito. Nicole, how are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you today, Eric?
I'm excited about today's episode because you're going to be speaking about what happens when somebody emails in or calls into the office because maybe they've heard a podcast and they've, thought about, hey, I have some questions, or one of the many other educational things that you guys do, which we spoke about on the first podcast. I appreciate you spending time with me on your inaugural podcast. For those listeners that are just joining us, go back and listen to that one at some point. It doesn't have to be before you listen to today's, but really it is all about the history of Private Vista and Nicole and her journey to the position that she's in now, and then a little bit about her personally. And so please go back and listen to that. One thing that you'll learn in that episode is that they have like 36 team members. You guys have a huge group.
We do, and we are still growing. So That number is going to continue to go up.
Yeah. So I'm excited. And I know that there's a lot of people that they have trepidation or they're concerned about, well, if I contact an advisor, if I contact somebody, they're going to try to sell me something, or they're going to look at my junk drawer of financial stuff, or they're going to learn about all the embarrassing mistakes I've made. And then we're here to dispel that because it's just not true. Your group is amazing and you work with all sorts of people. We talked about that on the first episode as well, but I really want to focus on kind of step by step what happens if somebody does, let's say call in, Nicole. Let's say somebody calls in after they listen to a show and they're like, I'd like to ask some questions. What happens when they call in?
Well, that would be great. We certainly welcome any chance to interact with someone and, help them out in any way that we can. When they do contact our office, they're most likely going to be talking with either Lorena Reyes or Sue Bolt, two of our fabulous team members who do a wonderful job of being the kind of initial face and voice of Private Vista. And really what they'll be doing is just getting a little bit of information about the caller. So the name, where you're located, and very high level, what caused you to reach out? Mm-hmm. Was it something we talked about on the podcast, or maybe you're at a crossroads or inflection point of your life? So not detailed or, getting any numbers or things like that, but I just want to try to find out a little bit about the reason for the call so that they will then get you sourced or connected to the appropriate advisor who will be able to best help you out.
Yeah, I love that. I when you were saying that, I was just thinking about my phone call to the dentist last week. The young lady at the desk said, so why are you calling in? And I'm like, my tooth hurts. It was that 30,000 foot view. I didn't say what my cuspid is perforated at the lower juncture, blah, blah, blah. I didn't need to know any of that stuff. I just told her my tooth is killing me. So, and then she put me in touch with the appropriate person. We made an appointment and it got taken care of. And that's kind of what it sounds like to me that you guys are doing is, look, what's the pain point? What's going on that made you call in? Let's figure that out. So now they have kind of been connected with somebody within the organization, correct? What happens after that?
Yes. So then after that, what will happen most likely is Lorena or Sue will take down the person's contact information. Whether would you like a phone call back? Would you like to at least set something up via email? And then the advisor will reach out to the person to set up an initial conversation. And I really want to stress the word conversation versus an appointment or meeting. It's a lot like a first date or a first interview. And you know what? That's probably not alleviating anyone's stress around this. Mm-hmm. But really, it gives a chance of the advisor and then the prospective client or the person calling in a chance just to get to know one another. So does the conversation flow easily? Do I like how they ask questions? Do I like how they're talking with me? And then it allows the Private Vista advisor to get a little more information about the person. So to use your words, either what's your pain point or what caused you to call in, and just maybe a high level, like a 30,000 foot view of where you stand financially and where you're trying to go.
All right. Well, that's a good foundation. So now we've had that brief discussion, let's say, and I'm concerned about my retirement, or I want to make sure that I've got enough.
Sure.
Sure that I've got some to pass to my kids or grandkids, or maybe I'm philanthropic. There's so many things to cover. Where do we go from here? I mean, how much information do I need to bring to the table? It's more like you said, just kind of getting to know you and kind of getting to know some of the future goals that you have. When do we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah. So our next step, assuming that initial conversation goes well, we think it's a good mesh personality wise, service wise, then we would set up a following meeting, and that's called our data gathering meeting, Eric. And that's where we really roll up our sleeves and we do start to get into the nitty gritty. So we would send you what's called our document checklist, and that's going to have the laundry list of documents or screenshots, or, you might need to pull a spreadsheet or two, however you track your information. And if at all possible, we try to set the meeting far enough out in the future so that you can send us the information ahead of time. And the reason we ask people to do that, Eric, is we know everyone is very busy and we want to be respectful of people's time. And if we have a chance to review the information ahead of time, then we are able to come prepared with questions or observations. And again, this is not a point where we're doing any type of recommendations or things like that, but it will allow us to say, oh, okay, I see, the composition of your financial situation, or allow us just to give some questions and things like that to get a lay of the land. And really, I want to stress, we are a judgment-free zone, because it can be scary or unnerving to share the inner details of your financial life, with a person that you've maybe had a 30 or 40 minute conversation with. So we want to look at, so we can formulate the questions, and not, again, just from the dollars and cents perspective, but more so a lot of the questions will be Eric, tell me how you got to where you are today. How did you decide on this type of investment strategy? How did you decide to structure your retirement plans this way? How are you utilizing your company benefits package? So again, it's a lot of, we're trying to figure out your why, because that's, in our opinion, the most important thing about people making financial decisions, right? Is how does your mind work? How do you think about things? What are you excited for? What maybe gives you a little bit of concern or anxiety?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think concern and anxiety is a great way to put that at the very end, because that's probably why people are reaching out in a lot of cases, because maybe they've just not done anything besides, well, I'm in a 401k, my wife's in a 401k, or my significant other has some investments that they've gotten. Maybe they had some inheritance from their family that wasn't huge, but they've got those in some investments, and just kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming that people are also, because this is my life, kind of disorganized when they reach out originally, because without somebody walking alongside you, it can be very easy to be disorganized. Do you have some tips and resources that you're helping these folks track down some of their information? If I'm not sure how to get my balance on my 401k, I'm not sure who to contact. Do you have resources for that?
Absolutely. So we have, as you mentioned, there's 36 of us here at Private Vista. We all have experience of either navigating an employer benefits portal. Really, for the most part, gone are the days where you get your booklet mailed to you or handed out to you from HR. So one of the benefits of technology is we can do a Zoom, they can screen share, they log in, and then we can actually direct you to say, hey, click on this tab or pull down that document. So right from the beginning, Eric, we want to be a resource and absolutely say, it's okay. Some stuff you might know, most people know where their tax return is, or they might be like, oh, I just recently received my 401k quarterly statement. But if that's not the case, absolutely, we want to help you gather those information and data. And whether you have it electronically or you have it in hard copy, I've had it where one of my team members have actually gone to the person's house or office to pick up the binder of estate documents or insurance policies, usually are in paper, are many, many pages. So we do try to make it as easy as possible to get the info. And then we're happy to make copies or scan it as well. Again, recognizing your time is very important. So any way we can help minimize the amount of time we're taking off the table for a couple of reasons. A, as I already said, your time is important, but B, we don't want that to be a stumbling block or prevent you. You finally made the call. It finally made it to the top of the to-do list. And now we're saying, okay, Eric, we understand it's a lot of paper to get to us or the portal or things to navigate. How can we help you do that so that we keep you moving forward now that this is at the top of your priority list?
Awesome. Now, when we started this conversation, I said sometimes people have a hang up because they're like, they're going to try to sell me something, right? I mean, that's the bottom line, is that people don't want to get took, so on and so forth. But from what I understand, you actually do these meetings for free up front to get to know folks and get to know their situation.
Yes, the initial, it can be sometimes we have one meeting and they're like, this is exactly what I was looking for. How do we move forward? Other times it may take a few meetings to get a level of understanding of our services. And from both sides, is this the right fit for both Private Vista and the person with whom we're speaking? So yes, the first 1 to 2, maybe sometimes 3 meetings are complimentary. And the other thing that we like to highlight, and we did this intentionally, is we charge a separate flat fee for our financial planning services. And we do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, as you have asked, no one wants to be sold. And many times in order to get planning, and I'm doing air quotes over here, to get planning services, the first step is, yes, you need to move all of your investments over to my firm, and then we'll start talking about strategy or advice. We know that's a very big step. And so we like to start with the financial planning, where we're getting to know you, your family, your goals, how you're structuring things. And you also are getting to know your Private Vista team. So as we mentioned in the first podcast, not only would you have your lead advisor, but every client has a co-advisor on their relationship as well. So you're getting to know your team. And we're getting to build your strategy and your plan, which is very much like a blueprint. If you were, building a house, or if you're a business owner, you do your business plan every year. So we want to kind of set that blueprint and give you some options of, here's ways you can improve your situation. Here's possible opportunities you may not have been aware of. Here's possible vulnerabilities. And how are we doing all of this in the context of what you are trying to do for you and your loved ones and or the organizations that you want to benefit?
Now, folks may have some trepidation about sharing everything, right? And the entire history of their finances, what they've got where, so on and so forth. Can you speak to a little bit to why it's so important to be able to know where all the investments are, maybe real estate that they own, collectibles, things like that? Why is it important to know all those things to be able to put into the overall plan that you guys are talking about?
That's a great question. So with our plan, and this is with, I would say, all things in life, right? It's all the quality of the plan is only as good as the inputs or the data or the information that we are provided. Mm-hmm. What we have found is it's very rare that any of our clients have ever taken all the different pieces of their financial puzzle and put them together and looked at it at one point in time across the board. They may say, you gave some great examples. Well, I have my 401k and maybe a pension at work. We've got 529 plans. I've got my baseball card collection that I started as a young child. We've got our home. Maybe you're a business owner. Maybe you have some investment real estate properties. Maybe you have inherited stock from a grandparent. So it's one thing is that I've noticed is that people are always surprised when we put everything together. The financial term is your net worth statement or a balance sheet. But to break it down, is just putting everything that you own and owe on one piece of paper. That in itself is very enlightening for our clients as a first step. They're often surprised at how much they've accumulated when they look at it collectively. And then the other thing we're looking at, is how is it titled and reviewing beneficiary designations. So I understand it can be very scary and it's very personal, but again, we're not judging you. We're here to gather the data, help educate you on where you are today. Most of the times people are surprised at how much they've accumulated and what it's grown to. So it's a nice positive surprise. And then we can pivot to, how can you make sure this is all positioned the best way possible so that it is setting you up to be able to achieve your goals and financial success. And not only today, but ongoing. We're in a very fluid world that continues to evolve, not even day by day, but hour by hour. And planning is the same way. That's why our tagline is Private Vista, Wealth Management Evolved, is we know that really as soon as we do your financial plan, it's stale and out of date. Because your values are changing, money's coming in, money's going out, you're achieving goals and setting new ones. And that's why our planning process is ongoing and we have long-term relationships with our clients because we're continually wanting to tweak them or update them as their life evolves and then the world around us, including tax laws and new solutions that become available. We want to always evaluate those and see if they apply to you or not.
I'll tell you that anybody who's lived, worked, gone to school through the last 2 years knows that, like you said, hour by hour, things are changing, right? It's craziness in the last couple of years. And I think that that's what is driving a lot of people to realize, I do need to work with somebody. I do need to speak to somebody just to make sure that myself and my family are okay. And I'm really looking forward to the next podcast. The next podcast, I'd like to talk to you about what it looks like to, once somebody has said, yep, I definitely want to work with you guys. And you have said the same thing. Yes, this is a good fit. And they become a client. Can we talk about that on the next podcast?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, I'd like to talk about step by step how you guys do that. But before we do, let's wrap this one up with a couple more questions. One of them being, you said this can take multiple meetings. When you're looking at time frame, what are we looking at here? Is this a month process, 2-month process, or does it just vary by each individual person?
It's the latter. It varies by each individual person for a couple of reasons. One is, as I mentioned, we're working on teams. And then if we're working with the client is either married or in a committed relationship, that's 4 people's schedules that we're trying to work around. And then the other key thing that plays into timing is how quickly we can receive the necessary information that we need to be able to continue our work, right? Evaluating where they are, being able to formulate those questions and understand just kind of where they are and how close they are to being where they're trying to go. So it could be some clients, as you said, they're like, wow, I want to do this now because either an event specific to them occurred, or as we've talked about, just with all the unknowns in the world today, many people are searching out a financial planner to try to at least get a lot of those questions answered for them. So it could be as quickly as a few weeks where we've had the meetings, we've got enough information, mutually we've decided this would be a beneficial relationship for both sides. And then we can get up and create our financial plan and be presenting that within maybe, I would say, like 6 to 8 weeks from that very first conversation.
All right. Are there any closing thoughts for today's podcast besides contact info? Because I'm going to ask you for that here in a minute.
Sure. The other thing I just wanted to highlight is because I really agree with your question or your comment on people don't want to be sold. And I mean, I feel that way as well. And so that's why we do take our time and have a few conversations, because we are looking for long-term relationships. So if we feel we're not the right fit, we're going to let the client know that. And we'll try to sometimes it's as simple as, hey, Eric, here's 3 things you can focus on or do on your own, or you may want to call this accountant or this attorney. And those would be good next steps for you to take to continue to move forward. Or if sometimes people are looking for more of a project-based relationship, we always try to get people to the right person or firm, because even if we're not the right fit, we want to try and help them in any way we can and get them pointed in the right direction. And whether that might be some things they can do on their own or getting them connected with the right professional.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. I love to hear that, because again, it's not always a perfect fit,
right?
But for those that it is, we're going to talk about that on the next podcast. I'm excited about that. All right. So Nicole, if people are listening to this saying, you know what, I need to get the ball rolling. I need to make a move. I need to take this first step. How do they reach out to you guys?
Yes. So we'll give 2 options. One is you can call our main number, which is 312-831-4370. 312-831-4370. You will be connected then with Lorena Reyes or Sue Bolt. And we've walked through what will happen after that. Or if you prefer, you can go to our website, www.myprivatevista.com. That's myprivatevista.com. And on our homepage near the upper right-hand side of it, you will see a contact us button, and you'll be able to put in your contact information and we will reach out to you.
Fantastic. Nicole, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Eric.
You bet. And of course, our last thank yous always for you, listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Dollars and Cents podcast with Nicole Romito. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Nicole comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask that you share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, as this actually does help other people find the show. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Private Vista, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day.
Thank you for listening to the Dollars and Cents, Creating Your Fulfilled Life with Nicole Romito, sponsored by Private Vista. Visit our website at www.myprivatevista.com or give us a call at 312-831-4370. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Private Vista is a group comprised of investment professionals registered with Hightower Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. No investment process is free of risk, and there is no guarantee that the investment process or the investment opportunities referenced herein will be profitable. Past performance is neither indicative nor a guarantee of future results. The investment opportunities referenced herein may not be suitable for all investors. All data or other information referenced herein is from sources believed to be reliable. Any opinions, news, research, analyses, prices, or other data or information contained in this presentation is provided as general market commentary and does not constitute investment advice. Private Vista and Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates make no representations or warranties expressed or implied as to the accuracy or completeness of the information or for statements or errors or omissions, or results obtained from the use of this information. Private Vista and Hightower Advisors, LLC assume no liability for action made or taken in reliance on or relating in any way to this information. The information is provided as of the date referenced. Such data and other information are subject to changes without notice. This was created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed herein are solely those of the authors and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors LLC or any of its affiliates.